Hey everyone, welcome back to Apollo Art Analysis. Today's episode, we're going to be studying a piece by the established 3D artist known as Tonin On. And in this episode, to be looking at this crystalline aesthetic, we're also going to explore the natural state of being. So let's jump right into it. So whenever you first see this work, of course, you're struck by the immense vibrance of the scene at hand here. Your first impression is likely one of awe due to the inherent nature of crystalline or glass forms here. And so we see the majority of elements here placed in center. It certainly draws the eye and inherently elevates the visual impact of form. Aside from that, of course, we see multiple variants of accent here, giving that illusion of depth and really displaying that as well. And so what you may notice whenever you first look at this work is the impact of both light and texture. In the realm of texture, we see this rather diverse range, right? You have, of course, what feels like a delicate or even rough foliage in comparison to the much more rigid and clear and smooth crystalline glass there, of course, both of which immerse us so well within the scene at hand. And the digital render does that incredibly well. There is no doubt about that. And so within this work, the main colors that we're seeing is going to be green and blue here, right? Those, of course, are analogous right next to each other on the color wheel, inherently giving us a sense of balance and harmonious order to the composition at hand. And so another thing you may notice is the sheer impact of this vibrant light. I think it is a definitive element of this display. This vibrance just invigorates the composition and gives us a sense of visual energy that's just second to none. Whenever I first saw this work, it caught my eye so well, that kind of emerald, that turquoise, that sense of vibrance, and that sense of light value is just absolutely stunning. I think there is no doubt about that. So within this work, of course, we have an amazing opportunity to talk about crystalline or glass forms. The inherent nature of crystals, they inherently catalyze light, or they intensify light. And if we look at light as an element of the divine, or if we look at light as an element of the sacred, then anything which intensifies that light is going to feel sacred or divine as well. So we have this kind of charm or this sense of magic to the composition that is just absolutely stunning. I think there is no doubt about that. And so within this, of course, we see crystal and glass forms are some of the most literal symbols of order that we have. They are intact. Of course, you see that quite well. If these were to shatter, it would be a much more different display. And they give us a sense of harmony or a sense of balance. And I think that's just absolutely stunning. We see that in the work before us here. And so kind of in juxtaposition, or to contrast that sense of order, we have the placement of these cubes in kind of harmonious disorder. It's quite interesting, It's almost as if we're looking at a sense of motion or a scene of the most surreal. It's hard to say for sure, but regardless of that, we have this clear contrast between the inherently ordered nature of crystals compared to the way that these crystals are arranged within the composition. You look at these cubes down here, they appear to be kind of falling into the water, or a sense, kind of a candid view of motion there, although it's hard to say for sure. But within this work, we have an incredible opportunity. The title of this work is Being. And so we ask ourselves, what does that mean? Why is it just, being in all caps? And I thought about this quite a bit. And what we see here, of course, we have that sense of the natural. You have those natural motifs of that foliage. And then, of course, you have the water right below that. And then within that, of course, what feels like the main subject here are these crystalline cubes. When I was thinking about this work, I was asking myself, why do we see this intact crystal, but it's arranged in a very disordered way? And I was thinking about this in relation to the title. Of course, the natural state of being oftentimes can be quite different, right? Such as the concept of yin and yang, black and white define each other by their difference, and good and bad define each other by their difference. So in that same way, the natural state of being is quite diverse. You have those good days, you have those bad days, but within that, you are kind of a miracle, if you will. Life in and of itself is a miracle, and I think we have this sense of life within the composition, but within that, you have, the kind of disordered placement of the crystals, maybe even to point at that kind of disordered or dual nature of human expression, although it's hard to say for sure. With this in mind, I want to ask y'all, what do y'all see when you view this piece, or what do you think we're looking at here? What do you think the symbolism of this work is? I think that's a really interesting question, and I would really love to know what y'all would say to those multiple questions there. So with this in mind, I wanted to ask y'all, what do y'all see when you view this piece, or what do you think we're looking at, or what do you think the symbolism of this scene is? I think those are some important questions, and I would love to see what y'all think of the work at hand here. So Absolutely stunning work, there's no doubt about that. This is a digital render, so was created within 3D art program. That program is going to be Blender, a very high skill ceiling. Whenever I think of Blender, I think of, people getting into 3D art, but that's not really accurate. Blender has a very high skill ceiling. Everyone from amateurs all the way to professionals are using Blender for their expression. So if y'all want to get into the world of 3D art, I would certainly suggest Blender. You can take it very far. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, I really hope y'all enjoyed today. Like I said, this is a stunning piece, and I absolutely love the symbolism, even if it's a bit subjective in my interpretation. I absolutely love the crystalline nature of these glass forms, and then also, of course, the greater natural scene here, and of course, the sense of vibrance and energy within the composition. It's just absolutely stunning. There is no doubt about that. If y'all enjoyed this episode, go check out the original artist, 3D artist Tonen On, doing some amazing stuff in the world of digital render. He pays very close attention to the symbolism and the kind of inherent nature of the scenes that he works with. He has some profound insights that I always love to look at. So, like I said, if y'all enjoyed today's episode, go check out the original artist. My name is Apollo. This was Apollo Art Analysis, and I'll see y'all on the next episode. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to support our work directly, please check out our Apollo community tokens. Apollo Art Exchange is an ecosystem of art appreciation which elevates artists each and every day. Thanks for listening.